When it comes to the blockbuster success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's a ton of factors that have built the franchise into what it is today. But it was the 1998 release of Blade, a gory action movie packed with leather coats and thrilling set pieces that first broke the comic movie mold in the 90s and showed longtime readers and mainstream audiences alike that Marvel Comics could be cool. But the 1998 release of Blade isn't the whole story. In fact, there's a lot you might not know about your favorite bloodsucker-busting hero. Here's the untold truth of Blade. Tomb of Dracula. Blade was created by Gene Colan and Marv Wolfman in 1973 during their run on the Tomb of Dracula series, which followed a group of characters tasked with killing the Lord of Vampires. It wasn't just a horror comic, however. The series brought Dracula directly into the Marvel Universe with crossovers and superpowered guest stars. Readers eventually learned that Blade's real name was Eric Brooks, and that he had received both his strength and his hatred for vampires from his mother, who was bitten by a vampire while she was giving birth to him. The event gave him immunity to vampirism, as well as a prolonged lifespan and fangs. After Tomb of Dracula's final issue, Blade popped up now and again in the Marvel Universe whenever a title needed a dose of horror. Blade the Movie. It was the release of Blade in 1998 that catapulted the character to new creative heights. The movie reinvigorated the concept of a vampire-like vampire hunter, showcasing a character that lived in the shadows, killing sleazy vampires in outlandish action sequences. Although the movie was directed by Steve Norrington, producer and star Wesley Snipes deserves a massive amount of credit for the character's stature in pop culture history. Snipes would constantly adjust shots and ad-lib certain lines of dialogue or scenes that, while costly, were always beneficial to the final cut. Snipes even ad-libbed one of the most famous lines of the movie.
Some mother are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Blade 2. Blade was a smash success with an incredible idea for a planned sequel.
At the end of the film, Blade and Karen pick themselves up and there are hundreds and hundreds of vampires out on the streets, and it's become Planet of the Vampires.
Norrington turned down the opportunity to direct the sequel, leaving the chair open for Guillermo del Toro to step in for Blade 2 in 2002. The film followed Blade as he was forced to team up with a group of specially trained vampires to hunt a powerful mutant aberration of vampires called Reapers. The film turned out to be a success, but it's arguably most notable for featuring a murderer's row of character actors who would go on to major acclaim, including Norman Reedus, Donnie Yen, and Ron Perlman. Critics were lukewarm, but fans turned out in force, turning Blade from a one-off hit into a genuine franchise. Blade Trinity. Blade 2 had moved the franchise forward, but Blade Trinity went off the rails. Directed by series writer David Goyer, it intended to bring in more of the classic elements from the comics, like vampire detective Hannibal King and Dracula. Unfortunately, by all accounts, it was a disaster for everyone involved. Patton Oswalt recalled his time on the set with a series of stranger-than-fiction anecdotes about Wesley Snipes.
He would communicate with Post-its that he would give to the director, and each one he would sign Blade.
For his part, Snipes found the situation so unpleasant that he filed a lawsuit against Goyer, the producers, and New Line Cinema, citing, among other things, the juvenile level of humor in the screenplay as well as the increased focus on Blade's sidekicks. Blade Trinity ended up being the worst-reviewed movie of the trilogy and put a stake through the heart of the franchise. But, as with any good vampire, Blade wouldn't stay dead for long. Blade TV. In 2006, Blade would return on the small screen in Spike TV's Blade the Series. Snipes was replaced by rapper Kirk Sticky Fingers Jones for the show, which continued the events of the movies. While the show's expanding mythology seemed intriguing, the series slowly hemorrhaged viewers until the season finale, a slow bleed that seemed oddly fitting for the vampire show. Blade in the Marvel Universe. While the Blade television show spelled the end of the character's live-action adaptations, a new comic book was released less than a week after the show's final episode aired. The series combined Blade's original comic book origin with his vastly more popular movie personality. This new version of Blade kneecapped Spider-Man, owed Wolverine a blood debt for saving his life from a vampire years ago, and occasionally did odd jobs for S.H.I.E.L.D. While the comic only lasted 12 issues, it did have one of the oddest team-ups in Marvel history. Dr. Doom kidnapped Blade to assist him in saving an innocent life from vampires. The catch? The victim was Dr. Doom's mother, a Romani sorceress who was attacked by vampires decades ago, but was saved by Blade going back in time to save her. Most importantly, the reasons Doom knew it was specifically Blade who saved his mother was that he had perfect recall, even as a fetus. Gross. Blade in Britain. Wesley Snipes' portrayal was so successful that it's easy to forget that Blade was born and raised in London in the original comics. After the cancellation of the rebooted Blade comic, he appeared in the ensemble cast of Captain Britain and MI-13, which followed a group of British superheroes battling magical threats. While on the team, Blade started a romantic relationship with fellow team member Spitfire, a vampire with superhuman speed who'd been fighting her bloodlust since World War II. Having two vampires on the team turned out to be a problem, though, when Dracula launched an attack on Britain from his secret castle on the moon. Blade and the rest of MI-13 were able to repel Dracula's attack thanks to a captured Duke of Hell, a mystical skull that kept vampires from invading Great Britain, and the mystical sword of Excalibur. No one ever said this stuff was easy. Blade the Avenger. While Blade is most well known for fighting vampires, he's often found himself at odds with a wide variety of immortal beasts and demons. In the Mighty Avengers, this involves secretly rallying a team of heroes to fight the Deathwalkers, 4 immortal rulers who each had dominion over one of the elements. Intriguingly, this required Blade to adopt disguises so as not to alert the Deathwalkers. First as Spider Hero, the non-copyright infringing spider-themed hero of New York, and then as Ronin, a catch-all ninja costume for superheroes who need to go incognito. Don't worry, he eventually went back to his trademark outfit. Return to television? While Blade might not currently have a comic series, that doesn't mean Marvel's forgotten about him. In fact, there's a chance he might return sooner than later, specifically in an upcoming season of the ABC series Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A spokesperson for Marvel tweeted out about the 2018 season with the hashtag Blade, leading fans to speculate that the show would incorporate everyone's favorite vampire hunter. Snipes even responded to tweets asking whether he would be willing to reprise his role for Marvel, saying, "When anyone asks, who could be the next Blade? You already know there's only one Blade, fam. Ball's in Marvel's court." Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.